gang. This is Todd Bookspan. How are you all doing? Apologize. We had some technical difficulties on our end, so we're starting a few minutes late, and I can see that we already lost a few people in just a minute or two. We were getting everything rolling, so I'm just going to post real quick into Facebook that we're live, so jump back in. Hope you guys are all excited for another version. Dave is doing something extremely important in, I think, Philadelphia this morning, according to the Instagram post I saw of him doing his daily ritual of drinking coffee. So hopefully that will be good. Definitely see some familiar faces on here, and excited about that. Hang on, I'm trying to multitask, which we talked about isn't good. All right, just updated Facebook for everyone. So the goal today is, since I don't have Dave as my sidekick, that means that you are all my sidekicks, because if you all don't talk, then this is going to be super boring. So I've got a few different approaches I think that we probably should take today. I think we're going to go back with the same activities that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, which is where I'm essentially going to call people out. Certainly would love it if you guys raise your hand, then that makes my life easier, but with lack of hand raising, then it's going to be me unmuting you guys and asking questions. And I think that the areas where we probably should circle, first and foremost is Dave's 12 weekly reminders. I shouldn't even call it Dave's. It's our 12 weekly reminders, right? That's the list that we've been working on as a group the last few weeks. Dave really would love us to put a bow on that so that he can get it over to his marketing department and make it look really pretty. But if you guys haven't seen the latest version of it, you can find it in the Facebook page. We've got 12 weekly reminders. That's kind of the goal, and Dave wants to make sure that we like the ones that we have. Again, they're not going to be perfect for all of us, but the whole goal is to have it be all-encompassing for most of us, because then he's also got the personal reminder spot. So he's got 3 spots where we can actually add our own personal reminders. So I actually think it's pretty darn good. I think it's pretty darn close, but would love feedback from anyone who's got that or thinks there's anything that's missing. Number 2 is, I think from talking to some of you all offline and what you guys have commented on the last few weeks, it seems like we've got people right now between modules 5 and module 7. I'm not sure if anyone's on module 8 yet or not, my personal favorite module, so I'm excited to talk about that. But really in 5 through 7, there's lots of things that we can discuss. 7, our homework was the goal supplement. In module 6, we were supposed to circle the 10 most important values on that values assessment. And I think we can have a great conversation around that values assessment for those of you who've done that. I think that there's definitely a lot there. I'd love to talk about what it is that you guys are now going to implement because of Insane Productivity that you think is most critical for you to focus on between now and the end of the year to launch 2017 great. It's kind of hard to believe that we're already in November. The number of business days left in the year is ridiculously small. I'm sure one of you probably knows what that is, so that'll be a great thing to tell and share with the group. But I think it's something, ridiculous. With Thanksgiving plus Black Friday, I don't really think counts as a work day, because I don't think any of us actually work. And then I think also it's what projects maybe you need to work on, because again, discussion with this group may be helpful where other people have some ideas of how to tackle that. What goals might there be, involved in that, and really, kind of creating discussion around that. And then really any other areas where you guys continue to struggle. The one thing that I know is that although we talk about some of the same things week in and week out, I think it's good, primarily because it's that repetition. It's that, pounding it in. Darren talks about the repetition of his dad in the weight room in their garage, and just the pounding of that. And I think it's really just that repetition that's good. And I know it's good because it seems to be something that we all bring up, right? Morning routines, jam sessions, 3 vital functions. I mean, any of those things that we've talked about before that you need a refresher on, or maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is my first call in a few weeks, what have I missed? It's okay if we revisit any of those ideas, because of the fact that we all need it. There's no reason not to dig back in. And ultimately, most of you now who are on these calls weren't on the first 6 calls that we did when we initially rolled it out. And I can tell you that these last few calls have been really similar to, our calls that we had midway through with the first group. probably the only real difference with that group is most everyone was kind of in the same place at the same time, where we seem a little bit all over, which again, I think is really helpful. So from that perspective, my goal is to stop talking. I'm hoping that while I'm talking, someone's going to raise their hand, and nobody has. So I'm going to start calling on people, and some of you I don't know, and some of you I do know. So the good news is that for those of you that I do know, then you're going to probably get called on. So just be prepared for that. And the better news is those of you I don't know, I'm probably going to call on you too, because ultimately that's the only way we're going to get to hear some new and familiar voices. How does that sound? Fair? One of the things that I continue to push, and I don't know if you guys are, how many of you are watching my little 3-minute, 2-minute, 3-minute summaries that I've done after Darren's sessions, is I love the idea of this Facebook page and us continuing to engage in there. So I love the fact that Bobby Moody posted in there that she has her jam session folder. So I think right there, and since I know Bobby, that I'm going to actually just have to unmute Bobby and see about her jam session folder and how that's going and anything else that we can help with. And for some reason, every time I move over to my control panel, it brings up a funky picture on my Facebook, so I apologize. Hopefully there's no one doing anything crazy on there today, but I'm unmuting you, Bobby. So how are you today? There she is.
I'm good, Todd. Thank you for making me the first person.
I know. You know, it's what you get for knowing me. It's awesome.
It's okay. I got a lot of comments on my comment about the jam session folder, and so maybe you could do a little clarification as to what you put in your jam session folder. I'm putting in projects I need to work on, things I need to read, when I'm doing marketing events, the expenses, so I can make that a project later when it's done, so I can get them all submitted, just all those kind of things. And I just want to make sure that I'm utilizing it the way I'm supposed to be.
Awesome. So I'm going to mute you for 1 second, but you're not off the hot seat.
Okay.
I'm only going to mute you when I'm talking because we have an echo, because I think we've got something with your speaker going on there. But hang on 1 sec. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
So to answer Bobby's question, so I think that your on-time folder is perfect. It's really whatever you want to have available for on-time. And the reason that I came up with that is you know, I'm so easily distracted, and I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, if I'm going to be successful with doing a jam session, you know, that idea of on time is I've got to have it at my fingertips where I don't have to search for it, where I don't have to get distracted. So for me, if I can pick up one folder and walk across the street to the coffee shop to work, then I'm less likely to get distracted. So all those things that you talked about are perfect things in there. It's kind of whatever's on that project list that you need to be getting done between now and the end of the year, or now and whenever the date you've set for yourself is. Because ultimately for me, if I have a backpack, you know, in my backpack right now are bills that need to be paid. My backpack has reports that I need to read. You know, my backpack has things that have been sent to me by clients that they want me to review. And so although those things are all important too, if I'm going to go do a jam session, that's going to be something that's working on my business to propel me forward. And so that's why I shove it full of stuff like that. So I don't get distracted. I'm going to unmute you, Bobby, and you can answer if that makes sense, but I think that's exactly what you've done with yours. All right.
Yes, that's what yes.
Yeah. Any other ideas or things that the group could talk about that would be helpful for you between now and the end of the year to close out strong?
Yes, actually, I could use some great tips or processes for recruiting resale agents. I would love that. That would help me immensely.
Recruiting realtors, perfect. We got some great people on the call that can talk about that.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, any other great ideas, or do you want me to meet you now? I'll send you off on your way now that I called on you first.
You can go ahead and mute me. Thank you so much for clarification on the jam session folder. That is what I'm using it for. I really appreciate the idea.
Wonderful. Awesome. So I see some superstars on this call. Who of you has either another idea or topic you'd like to discuss today? Who of you can help strategize with Bobby around how to go out and recruit some more agents, because I think that probably for all of us is on our list of things to do to hit the ground running in 2017. And then if any of you have done that values assessment, I'd love to hear from you on that, or if any of you have any feedback on Dave's 12 weekly reminders. I'm trying to be patient and let you guys raise your hand, but if not, you know me, I'm going to just jump in and I'm going to start, and I'm going to call on Adam Beauvais. Adam, how are you? You've been unmuted, sir. Are you there? Oh, no, you're muted on your end. So either you need to unmute yourself or we're having technical difficulties.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Good. Any of those topics, something that you feel like you can add some value to this group on?
Well, just lost my screen. The one that I'm focusing on as far as the jam sessions is really for 2017 is marketing. I feel like I didn't do a very good job of it here in 16, so revamping Facebook and doing a bunch of ads out there like that.
So what kind of ads are you doing on Facebook? I'm sure everyone's wondering when someone throws that out there.
Well, I participate in a program called Homes for Heroes. It is helping local heroes like veterans, teachers, nurses, firefighters, police officers. So really focusing in on the local community. I have a couple of realtors that participate in that program as well. And what it does is it allows those servicemen or women in those fields to receive discounts when purchasing a home. And so spreading the word. Like I just this morning was listening to the radio, and there is a DAV run that's happening this weekend that I didn't even think about. So I'll be going out and talking to them to see if I can promote the Homes for Heroes program and help additional individuals purchase homes. So with ads that way, it's really promoting that, and then also the workshop that I do once a month, promoting that as well.
So I love that. I think it's really awesome, and I'm familiar with that program. The first thing I would say to all of you on the call, because I'm married to an attorney who runs the branch that my team works in, is that not all companies, you have to get through your compliance department, but most of the Homes for Hero, there's also one called Heroes Home Advantage. Most of them will work with your compliance department if there's some language in the agreement that they don't like. So are you, when you're doing Facebook ads, are you using that then to target realtors to try to see if they want to participate with you, or are you using it and targeting people who are listing on Facebook that they're veterans?
I go directly to the consumer, since it is a close-ended agreement with the realtors that participate. So it's using my connections and then using their connections to get out in front of more veterans, police officers, firefighters, and nurses to promote it.
And I'm sure people are wondering, are you spending a lot of money on Facebook ads, or is it inexpensive?
For these type of ads, it's pretty inexpensive. The research that I've done right now is running 30-second videos, and the I do pay-per-clicks, so it directs them back to my website, and right now it's running about 30 cents a click, which is pretty inexpensive. I want to get it down to 18 cents, which is optimal.
And how'd you pick 18 cents?
That's just the research that's been done as far as what's considered a productive ad.
Love it, love it. So I think that's really awesome. And so as you guys are listening, right, what are some opportunities you might have? How could you maybe do something like that? I do think I got to imagine if you get someone who applies to that program, that the realtors that you're working with are thrilled that you're doing something to send business their way, correct?
Correct, and I'm working with them. I actually help them set up ads. So we're kind of hitting it from all angles, different ads, different times. So, you know, I took the position as the ad professional, and I help them set it up so that they don't really have to worry about it. They haven't given me the admin status on their Facebook so that I could just go ahead and run the ads for them, but I doubt that'll ever happen.
Well, I would say it's probably okay too, because then leave the onus on them to actually make sure they're doing it. But you're right. Then if you do it, then they're actually. If you're running it, then you know what's actually happening too, right?
Right.
As far as modules in Insane Productivity, whereabouts are you currently?
5.
5. Cool. So, any big takeaways from Module 5 as you start designing your life in there that you've noticed?
Not yet. I actually just listened to it yesterday. The one that's really sticking with me is Module 3, as far as taking time, making money by doing nothing. I have to learn to just let my mind go and not always be focused on work. So I've really been trying to take that into consideration as far as finding some downtime in accomplishing what Darren says is doing nothing. So that's the one that I've been kind of unfortunately struggling with the most, is finding how to just let everything go and just do less by doing more, or do more by doing less, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge one. I think that probably most of the overachievers on this call struggle with that same thing, because we're used to go, 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 and that idea of actually pulling back and spending time thinking is a hard one. What are you doing anything different to try to make that happen, or is that still the struggle?
Well, the thing that I forget who was asking about meditation and that kind of stuff. I took a course on transcontinental meditation, and it's an expensive course as far as meditation goes. But really stick into that. That's 20 to 30 minutes of allowing yourself not to think about anything. As weird as that sounds, but you do it first thing in the morning, and then about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night before you eat dinner.
So twice a day, and are you pretty consistent with that?
Well, I had dropped off, and after listening to 3, I've been pretty good about doing it. I need to get to that time blocking and just doing it. So I'd say during the week I miss probably 4 sessions, but to make it get the best out of it, it's to do it every day without missing one.
Awesome. Love it. And I think a couple people, myself included, have mentioned Headspace. I've heard the transcendental thing is awesome. My daughters are pushing me to write the check so that they can do it while they're at college, but I've been using Headspace as an app, and I heard a couple other people on here as well, so that's great. Any other thoughts, ideas, questions for the group before I mute you?
No, the only one that I had was from a few weeks ago. As far as lunch and learns, someone said that they had about 17 ideas, and on the Facebook page I only can find about 2 maybe. So maybe sharing some more lunch and learn ideas would be beneficial.
All right, so we've all failed you is what I'm hearing you say as a group.
No, just not met the expectation.
There we go. All right, well, you're much nicer than I am. Okay, so that would be great too. If anyone has any great lunch and learn ideas, let's you raise your hands. Ironically, all you would have to do is search in that search bar of our group for lunch, probably to pull up the lunch and learns, and you can add stuff in there. And once there are people adding in there, it should move it up. I'll make sure that I do that, because ironically, on my wall I have 8 ideas for lunch and learns for next year, not 17, but I will throw some of mine in there, and hopefully other people will. That is great. Awesome. Adam, thanks so much. I think that was really valuable. Appreciate it. And if you think of anything else to add during the call, please raise up your hand. I'd love to hear more.
Will do. Thanks.
All right, Scott Morse, I'm unmuting you. You got your hand up. Thank you for doing that. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How's everybody else doing? Hope everybody's good.
Well, since I'm the only one who can talk, I'll answer that. I'm doing great. So, and I'm assuming everyone else is as well. What's on your mind today?
Well, it's great to be here, and really enjoyed these sessions. And to answer Bobby's question, one thing that I've been doing this year in the last few months to recruit new realtors, and it's really first thing I've been doing is to communicate regularly to both the buyer and the listing agent. And I've had 3 or 4 listing agents say, wow, lenders just don't get in touch with me regarding the milestones. They would call and say, hey, the appraisal's in, the value's fine, and it hasn't been underwritten by it has still to be reviewed by the bank yet, and I'll keep you posted. And they've been very appreciative of that, and I've been surprised to hear that they've communicated their liking as to being in the loop on things, because they aren't sometimes. And I've been able to, once the transaction's been closed, they say, hey, I'd love to take you to lunch, tell you about my company, what we do, and they've been, yeah, how about next week? And picked up a few realtors doing that. Another way I've been trying to pick up some realtors is ask my current agents who know me well, who I like, and who I get along with, hey, who else do you think I would like to work with, or who I can help do some more business and help them with their clients? And I've gotten a few introductions that way. Same thing with some of my other partners and financial planners and CPAs, and it's been great. So it's a process, I would tell you, Bobby, and whoever else is listening. And once I've done that, then I've I make a jam session. I've been doing it for a while, actually. And one of my jam sessions is, for twice a week, is to call all the realtors on my, I have about 20 realtors that I call on a regular basis. Say, hey, it's Scott. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope you sell some houses this weekend. I'll be working hard, and let me know what I can do for you. And sometimes they pick up the phone, and I talk to them directly. I'm like, oh, thanks for calling me. And sometimes I hear from them 5 days later, and sometimes I don't hear from them at all. But what it does is it makes me feel good, and I'm prospecting. And things then, it's like, you're setting out all these popcorn kernels, and then eventually they'll start to pop.
Love it. What a great analogy. So besides the appraisal call and then a call when you're closed, asking a listing agent to lunch, what other scheduled phone calls are you making during a transaction?
Tell them when loans been submitted for underwriting. When we get the conditional approval back, it'll be maybe depending on the time frame. And it doesn't necessarily mean I may not call them either. I might text them, hey, loan's been submitted for approval. We also have technology that we've leveraged, wherein we have an app that they can subscribe to that gives them all those milestones through Encompass. So, they don't. It's hard to get people to download the app because we've got enough apps on our phone already. But some of them do that, and they're appreciative of that. But it's not. I'm not overwhelming them, but I'm just saying keeping them apprised of the important milestones in their transactions, so they know that it's going smoothly. They just hear from They just appreciate hearing from somebody, because the people we compete with at Wells Fargo, the B of A's, they don't call anybody, and they're not in touch with anybody. And most loan officers, those other companies, are just don't even think to communicate with the listing agent.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's everyone says, oh yeah, we have to communicate with listing agents. They're the easiest target we have, and I find that a small percentage actually execute it with excellence.
It's not hard. It just takes a little bit of discipline, as Darren would say, in his module 10.
What about have you had any pushback at all from agents when you say, who do you know that I need to know? When you're asking them to meet their friends, I know some people are always concerned about that because they're worried that the agent's going to think that, well, then you won't need me anymore, or you're going to get too busy. What kind of feedback do you get when you ask?
No, generally they're very appreciative, and I'll ask them in a way like, who do you think would be compatible for me to work with, and who's doing some business? Because let's face it, you got to have 20 to 30 agents to get 5 to 10 purchases, the live deals going, and then people fall off, and they're not all working hard at the same time. And but I haven't had any pushback on that. These are agents that I've known for a while also. And so they know me, they know I'm straight, I'm honest, I'm working hard, and I'm in it. So they're like happy to say, hey, go talk to this guy, he's been really hot lately.
Well, and I love that idea, because I do think that people who like you have a vested interest in your success and want to help. And so I ask those questions because I think there's some of you maybe on the call who are hesitant to ask that because you're worried that that what the other agent's going to be thinking. But I think it's a great thing because they already know you, and in theory they're going to refer you to people who are like you, or like you said, that are actually doing business.
Yeah. You got
so what modules, Scott?
I'm on. I just finished module 10.
Oh yeah, all right, you're way ahead. That's good.
Yeah, it's been great. I would tell you this has been a wonderful journey for me. I've been in the business a long time, and I've been kind of a sole originator. I never really had an assistant, or have obviously a processor who's assigned you. And it's been last few months I've taken on a sharing assistant with somebody, and I'm really inspired to reinvent myself going forward. I typically do 100 to 120 units a year, and I want to get to 180, 200. And I think as a sole originator, it's pretty tough to go beyond the 100 to 120 I've been doing. And so I'm going to reinvent myself for next year and put together a team, the mission, vision, value statement, goals for the year, goals for our team to execute. There's a lot of things that I just can't get to. Doing my mortgage returns and going through my past clients and calling them up and telling them, hey, you need a refinance. If I have someone on my team that can help me with that, then I can continue to focus on the vital few things that I'm really good at. And also we're going into a market, I think, where it's going to be less refinances, a lot more purchases. And, you need to have those realtors and all those other, kind of firm or comfortable partnerships with people that can refer you business. So I'm excited about that. And I did 5 total cost analysis this past week. First 5 I've really ever done. I've had Mortgage Coach for a while, and I get in there, and it's once you get familiar with it and it's used to it, it's so easy, and the numbers they don't lie, and it's such an easy and professional way to present things that people say, wow, I can save, where I might not personally think that $25,000 savings over 10 years is a lot of money, but my client looks at that and say, wow, I can save that much money, because we're in the business, we're so close to the sun that the numbers become meaningless. Oh, you can save $180 a month. Well, that's for me, or so that doesn't sound too exciting, or what's the cost to it? But if you show them it's $25,000, $30,000 over a period of time, it's like, okay, where do I sign up? And it's been fantastic. Even did the video. I even did the video part of it too. So I love that.
All right. Well, a big high five on behalf of Dave through the phone. I mean, certainly I love the fact that, Dave's got on number 9 on that list. Did you create 2 total cost analysis experiences today? But, I've been such a big fan of Mortgage Coach. I mean, ironically, since literally the first day I got in the mortgage business, I bought the program in 2001. And I love hearing that. The other thing I think that I heard that I would make sure that I highlighted is that, right, we all have this curse of knowledge as loan officers, and we all focus on one place or another, typically on monthly savings, and you hit the nail on the head, right? When you send that to somebody and visually they get to look at it, something else might seem important. Even to them, $108 a month may not seem like a whole lot, but when they see that $25,000 savings down the road, they get excited about it. Most of us think we're going to refinance them before that time anyway. The client doesn't think that. So I love it. Let Mortgage Coach do its thing, and really appreciate, Scott, that you raised your hand and jumped on in. And if you have anything else to add during the call, go ahead and raise your hand again. But appreciate it.
Yeah, and I look forward to hearing. I look forward to some more of those lunch and learn ideas as well.
All right, perfect. I've got. Thanks, Scott. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Bliss. She has, I'm sending you a audio pin, Bliss, pound 53 pound. Bliss says she's got some ideas on realtors. My guess is she probably has some ideas on lunch and learns as well. And so I'm hoping she will be with us momentarily. All right, hopefully you're unmuted now. Bliss, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Thanks. Appreciate you facilitating this. It's always kind of good to know, you know what, I've got Friday morning and I need to kind of, am I going forward, right? And so I appreciate it. It helps me to be motivated. So, yeah, so first on the lunch and learn, one of the things that I took away when I went to Insane Productivity last month in San Diego is that I wanted to do a realtor class on some of those principles, some of those time management principles that a lot of people struggle with, and productivity. And so I put together, I'm trying to get it approved as one CE credit called Achieving Raging Success. And it kind of touches on distractions, and it touches on social media, and it touches on really just a lot about, the metrics and tracking, because I think that's what creates success, is our ability to watch what we're doing. And so I taught it for the first time this week, kind of as an experiment to the loan officers in my company, and invited a couple of realtors to come. And I got great feedback on it. So I'm excited. That's kind of one of my things going forward into 2017, to try to get in front of more real estate agents in a credible, memorable way that, I show them I want to help their business, but it also kind of reflects well that that's how I treat my business, and being focused and, hopefully the best of the best in my area. So that's kind of on the lunch and learn aspect of it. Any questions on that, Todd?
How long did it take you to create the content?
So what's interesting is at the beginning of Insane Productivity, Darren Hardy said, take notes. You may find that you'll come up with ideas that aren't even really related to what I'm saying. And that's exactly what happened to me. Is I had that idea, and I've got a couple of other CE classes approved, and have had great success with that helping my business. And so that's kind of when I got the idea, and I've kept that as part of my jam sessions. And so I've worked on it a little bit every week for about the past 3 weeks. And but it didn't take me 3 weeks to put it together, but I worked on it for 3 weeks, if that makes sense. And just kind of tied in not just Darren Hardy's things, but also all the time management things that I have studied over the years, and what I've taken and what's worked for me. And then I really try to emphasize to the people I'm teaching that what works for me is not going to necessarily perfectly work for them, but it's a process, it's a journey. And taking this class and reading a book or listening to Darren's Daily or whatever it might be, always be on that journey to improve your productivity, so that we're not working more hours to achieve more income or production. Especially with real estate agents, I think a lot of them feel like they work 24/7. They always have to be available, and they're getting calls at, they're getting texts at 5:45 in the morning, one agent told me, and 11 o'clock at night, and how do we control that so that, because to be honest with you, a lot of the reason I work is because of the things in my life that I love to do, travel and different things like that. And so I don't want work to consume me, and I think realtors feel the same way, because we want to be able to enjoy our life. So that was kind of the angle I took, and it seemed to really resonate with people.
I love it, and the thing I keep thinking about as you're saying it is number one, we have a lot of lunch and learn topics just in insane productivity, but I like the fact that you brought in all the other things from the other gurus and experts you've learned, because again, everyone's going to have something that they're going to resonate with themselves. But overall, there's enough ideas in here in what we've been learning in Insane Productivity to bring in small bits and chunks to our teams and to our referral partners. And then, the other piece in there that I love is that you just said, hey, this is something that is important to me and I work on. And so as you're thinking about ideas for lunch and learns, most of the stuff that you would want to learn today, that you would want to become an expert on, are probably things that your realtors want. So, obviously Adam can teach a Facebook class, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but really make it personal, because in the end, because I told them, hey, this is my first time. I want your feedback. I want to know what sounded good, what didn't, what could I expand on. The feedback I got that was interesting and surprised me, because I actually didn't plan on talking about it. So I have my weekly schedule, and I showed it up on my PowerPoint, but then I just grabbed the one I had on my desk, because I've kind of added a few things to it. So, for example, my weekly planning that has the 3 big goals, and then my miscellaneous section. And I don't know, I think I got this actually, I don't know if I got this from in the Insane Productivity, but if anybody wants it, you just have to email me or send me a message on Facebook and I'll send it to you. But I've added a few things like my daily phone calls, realtor lunches, my AM and my PM routine, just on this one page so I can easily track it. Well, I had handwritten down at the bottom of this the initials KABS. And after this kind of got handed, it was a pretty small group, about 12 people I think were there. And when I saw that it had gone through, I said, I had kind of talked about, this, why do we work? We work because we have things that we want to be able to do, so don't let work consume you. And I started talking about tracking and metrics. And I said, does anybody here know what those initials meant on my weekly planning form, KABS? And they're like, no, what does it mean? And I said, well, those are the initials of my kids, Kayla, Andrew, Braden, Shay. And my goal is to have at least 2 meaningful contacts, connections with them during the week. They're all but one of them is grown up and doesn't live at home, and the one that is living at home is in college and doesn't need me. But it's really important to me that my kids feel connected to me, no matter how old they are. And so, as silly as it sounds, I'm tracking that, right? Whether, anyway, so, and that was just a side note, right? I hadn't planned on talking about that. It just kind of came out. Afterwards, many of them came up to me and said that was one of the best things that their takeaway was, is that, I'm balancing my work with what's important to me, but that I'm also being intentional about it. And so it's just interesting. Just go with the flow with some of these lunch and learns that you're teaching, but bring in some of your personal story, because people really, really connect with that. So I just found that interesting, my experience with that. So that's kind of on the lunch and learn. On the realtor marketing, I wanted to share one of my new projects. And again, this specifically came out of doing Insane Productivity. I've had the idea for years, but never took the time to put it together and implement it. One, because I don't, it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, right? Even though I do the coaching and the training and I tell my clients to do stuff like this, we all have our own insecurities and fears and just things that don't light our fire, and this is one of those. So I put together a 5-touch marketing campaign to agents that don't currently use me. So I have 13 agents that I want business from, and they're all moderate to high producers. And I started out with a canvas tool bag. I went to Harbor Freight. They had this amazing sale, and I got great deals. But it's probably like a 14-inch tool bag. And I had that plus a measuring tape. And I said, if your other lender isn't measuring up, let's work together. And that was the beginning of me helping them create this toolkit. And then the second one was a screwdriver, kind of a little bit, edgy or brash. I said, don't get screwed by other lenders, and don't let your borrowers get screwed. And then I talk about why they should use me. And I'm actually taking that and dropping it off to the realtors. Even there's a couple of them that work from home. I'm taking it to their house, right? And then this next week, the third one will be, it's a roll of duct tape and a Sharpie marker. And it's something about let's stick together. And on the duct tape, I put call bliss. And we're wrapping them in cellophane with a little ribbon. And so it just kind of looks nice. And then I think we're doing pliers. I want to ply you away from your current lender. And I can't remember what the last one is. So it's just a marketing campaign, right? It's called Grabber Marketing. If you want to read a great book on that, it's The Ultimate Marketing Machine by Chet Holmes. And Grabber Marketing works. It absolutely works. But it's really actually hard for us to do. For one, in my situation, I haven't had the time until I recently hired a production manager, so it's freed me up to do it. But then there's also, like I said, those fears and insecurities of, that looks, it's kind of cheesy. They don't really know me very well. They're not going to be home. I'm just going to knock on their door, and their dog's going to come at me. And right, all those things go through our head. But I made a plan. I have it written down. I used my jam sessions to put it together. My production manager is holding me accountable to it. She creates them all, puts it on my desk, and says, all right, what's your schedule? When are you going out? And so we've delivered 2 of them out of the 5 or 6 that we're doing, and I've already gotten one referral from an agent that had not sent me one thing previously. So that's kind of my goal between now and Christmas, is to do that. And then about every once or twice a year, I want to do a campaign like this, where I reach out and just go deeper with my message of who I am and what I do and what I can do for them. So that's what I wanted to share.
Holy smokes, that's huge. That is so awesome. Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. A couple of questions. One on that, and then someone's got a question on your lunch and learn that you're putting together. Tell me about the 13 agents that you decided to target. How did you pick those agents?
Good idea. Yeah. So I looked back at all of my listing agents on transactions for the past 12 months. And then I went and I was able to find statistics, their last 12 months buy sides, because I don't want to market people, even if they're super nice. I don't want to market people that do 1 or 2 a year. So my minimum was that they had 6 buyer side transactions. I've actually got a couple of them that have had over 20 in the last 12 months. So that's kind of how I determined who. I also went to our current president of our board of realtors. I have had some interactions with her with my involvement in the board of realtors. I really like her, and I feel like she likes me, and found out she's going to be starting her own company when she's done with her role as president this year and has a little bit more time. And so I thought, why not? Go big or go home, right? And then trying to think, mostly I looked at listing agents. Some of them I looked at people that I've met through Women's Council of Realtors or, like I said, my involvement in the Board of Realtors and looked up their statistics. And so I kind of had a list of about, 50 agents, and then we looked at statistics, and then I narrowed it down. I actually originally had 15. If I would start over or to advise anyone, I would tell them go with 10. Just because that's a lot of drive time, and it's just, I follow up with a text or a phone call kind of thing, and then starting next week, I want to get them all to lunch at some point. And so I dropped 2 off simply because the one where she works from home and it's just too far away for me to go, right? And then the other one I dropped off because I had called her. I called all of them up front to say, hey, do you office from an office or do you office from home? If I were to send you something by mail, where would be the best place to send that? I got a warm fuzzy from 13 out of 14. So that 14 one, I just didn't feel the connection or anything. So I'm like, yeah, I don't need 14. 13's good. So, you can kind of set it up, but I would do a minimum of 10 and a minimum of 5 touches. And I'm doing them between 7 and 10 days apart. Because I want it to be kind of fast, this message of I want to work with you, I want to work with you, I want to work with you. Give me a chance, give me a chance.
I love it. That is awesome. And they're all people, it sounds like, then, who at least had some familiarity with you, either from doing a transaction or from you had met them briefly at some point.
Correct. But I don't think it would hurt if you're new in the business or new in an area. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to be like, oh, thanks, but no thanks. That's cute, but I already got a lender. And I could get the same thing, right? So don't be afraid to do it just because you don't know enough agents. That's what keeps most.
And they all have a lender, right?
Like
I mean,
everybody
they all have
a lender.
one.
Their brother-in-law.
That's it.
Or crazy dude down the street. Yeah. And I don't want business. If I got all 13 agents, all of their business, I couldn't handle it. That's not my goal. My goal is to get 6 to 7 of them sending me 2 to 4 deals next year, and I think that's very, very doable. So what is that?
Well, and I think even the ones who don't pick you,
next year.
Yeah, but the ones who don't, if their lender isn't available or their lender makes a mistake, at some point they'll think, okay, where am I going to send this client? And they're going, they're going to reach out.
There's actually another silver lining to this as well. We've been in a very tight market in my area, and so we get multiple offer situations all the time. And I can tell you, I know of many circumstances or deals in the last 12 months that the listing agent pushed my buyer's offer because they knew my reputation. They didn't necessarily use me, but they knew of my reputation, and there were 3 offers, very, very similar, and they pushed my offer in front of their seller and said, hey, I know their lender, I know it'll get done. So even if they don't choose to use me, I'm just increasing that reputation that will help my buyers and my buyers' agents, And I let my buyer's agents know, let them know who they're working with. Let me call them, because it does make a difference. So there's kind of some ripple effect to doing marketing that you might not see right away, but it really does improve your reputation and your visibility.
100% agree. That is great. If you don't mind, someone had a question with regards to your Lunch and Learn. How are you getting the CE approved?
So I'm approved as an instructor, and I currently have one class regarding the mortgage process approved, and another one called Creating Momentum, just about realtors doing marketing. So I submitted this about 2 weeks ago through the state. It's actually a pretty easy process if you haven't done it. It costs like $75, and you have to fill out a couple forms. But they actually sent me an email yesterday saying it wasn't approved because it was motivational. But I went onto their website and I found a topic that, anyways, I'm fighting them on this because I actually think it fits perfectly with one of their topics in there. And so, but even if I don't get it approved, I'll still do it as a Lunch and Learn. I'll contact brokers and say, hey, can I bring this in to your agents for, one of your meetings? The problem is that I really want it to be CE approved because that gives it more credibility, and I can then teach it at our board office in their classroom, and then they promote it for me. So I'm going to really fight to get this CE approved because it does help.
Well, it makes you an expert, right? I mean, it's not just something you've created. It's something that's now been stamped and endorsed by the state.
Yeah,
you said there they'll promote it for you. Will they charge a fee for it as well?
Who?
When you teach that class, will the board charge a fee
so that's
to members?
What's crazy. They pay me $100 for every one credit I teach. It's weird, isn't it? I'm like, you're paying me?
It's awesome.
It's like the whole world tilted on its axis when that happened.
That was my compliance hat asking that question, because in Arizona, where we are, the DFI, our Department of Financial Institutions, believes if you're teaching a class for credit, you should be charging. So if we paid you $100 to come in and teach it, then we can't provide it for free. We have to actually charge a fee for people.
Really? Huh. No, our board office our realtor office offers free CE classes. That's kind of one of the perks. I mean, it's really included in your dues. But yeah, all of the CE classes through our board of realtors are free to the members.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, all right, that was a whirlwind. Super appreciate that. I can't imagine that anyone's not going to have left there with a couple of good ideas. Any other big things you're focusing on to try to get done between now and the end of the year, so that 2017 is just out of the park?
Yeah, so I'm taking my processor and production manager away next week, going up into the mountains overnight, and we're just doing some brainstorming, and we're talking about team metrics and our vision. Because we're doing a whole rebrand and new website that'll launch in January, so we're just fine-tuning a lot of that, and we're looking at all of my past numbers, and because I am closing about 145 to 150 units this year, but way too many of them were refinances for my comfort level going forward. So my goal next year is 150, but there's no way that can happen unless we do things differently and bring in more referral partners based on my predictions of the amount of refinances we'll get next year. And so we're just really going to go deep and come up with ideas, and just also kind of just that time away from the office to connect. So I'm excited for that next week, and then really just keep working on my weekly planning and making sure I'm staying focused on those 3 vital functions. That's been my game changer, is the 3 vital functions.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you raising your hand, and you just added a ton of value. I'm always appreciative that I can count on you to wow the audience each and every week. So thank you very much. All right, who's next? I know it's hard to follow Bliss. We've got time just for a couple of short ideas, and then, believe it or not, it's at the top of the hour. This call has flown by. Does anybody have something that they're dying to ask, or I'm going to call on someone that we've never heard of? So if you're one of those people who's never talked, I'm going to unmute you and put you on the spot. So Here we go. David Flory, I'm going to unmute you since we don't know each other. It's nice to meet you. How are you today? David, are you there? David going once. David going twice. All right, I'm going to remute David, and I'm going to get Dave Manaville unmuted. All right, Dave, I don't know you either. How are you today? Dave, are you there? Hello, hello. Dave, are you available? All right, so my muting and unmuting is not working. So how about I'll do this? Without anyone else raising their hand, let me just kind of summarize, I think, some of the great things that we heard, and then I've got a couple of asks for you guys and also a couple of offers. Number one is that, of course, I have to go back and highlight the fact that we heard that people are using Mortgage Coach to wow their clients, right? You know, Dave's not here, so I'll plug it for him. You know, I'm a big fan. I'm part of, I guess technically now, Dave's inner circle, because I've been such a supporter of it, and something I pushed personally when I was in production, and I personally still push my team today to use Mortgage Coach. I do believe it's a huge differentiator, and I do believe, as Bliss said, that the market next year is going to be a tighter market, right? I mean, we're just not going to have the refinance opportunities that we had this year. You know, there's always going to be some, but it's not likely that we're going to have the same year that we had this year. So if we do, great, but let's be planning on a purchase market and how to differentiate yourself. There's no doubt in my mind that there shouldn't be one of us on this call who's not thinking about Bliss's 5-step realtor plan that she's going to do. I know some of you are like, oh gosh, it'd be a lot of work to have to buy that stuff. I don't think so. I think you could drive by Home Depot on your way home or Lowe's and pick that stuff up today. Number two, you're thinking, well, I don't have time to deliver it. I bet Bliss doesn't have time either, but she's making time. And so I would say that that's probably not a great excuse. I think you probably already know who to target. You know, she went right to the people that she already knew. You know, she went to people that were familiar with her, and then she narrowed that list down. And I think we all have access to that through a title company or through my MTA or a report like that, where you can find out who's doing what business. Another way to do it is, if you know any real estate brokers, there's a program called Broker Metrics that a lot of the realtors use, because they use that for recruiting, and that'll give you that information, and they may be willing to look up people for you. But that idea is, you know, no doubt a home run. I also think that her lunch and learn idea is one that most of us could implement based off of what we've learned here. I don't think you have to get CE approved. I love that idea as well. One of the asks, as you heard, if people are saying, hey, we committed as a group that we were going to throw lunch and learns into the Facebook page, and we let everyone down. So if once we get off this call, before you go into a jam session, since this is a great time for you to download your biggest projects and ideas, I would definitely do that. But if you could just jump on the Facebook page and throw an idea or two, either of something that you have done yourself with success, an idea that you have of something you've seen someone else do that was successful as well, that would be great for the group. Last other couple of asks. Again, this is sort of our last call on the Insane Productivity Weekly Reminders. And you guys have been an integral part of that. If you look at the screen right now, that's what I've got up. You can click on that document. You can print it. That's what I did this morning. But would love any feedback. Just throw it right there on the Facebook page or private message Dave. He would love to hear any other feedback. Because I really do believe, just like Bliss says, she's got a tool that she uses and looks at weekly. I think this would be a great tool to put on the other side of that when we all make a photocopy of our own weekly schedule. On the other side, we can put Insane Productivity Weekly Reminders and keep ourselves dialed in there. And then really I would just encourage all of you, if you haven't taken a little bit of time, you know, as you're going through these modules, you do need to pause, you need to think, and you do need to go back and review. A lot of you are getting to really some huge modules. I mean, 8 to me is packed with a lot, and there's so much in there. I think we could spend 2 or 3 calls just talking about the homework that's in there, and it's where vital functions and metrics come in. It's where your one big thing comes in. It's your not to-do list. It's your hourly rate. Again, talk about bookending your day more. I mean, just vital improvements. It's this super productivity idea all packaged into one. And so that's why it's one of my favorite modules. It's definitely the module I listen to the most. So don't be scared to go back and review, but ultimately take those ideas and put them back into the Facebook group for Dave. He would love that. And then I would just encourage everybody, right? We're at the very front end of November, and December 31st is coming up. And you heard people on the call talking about things that they're doing. What are the projects? What are the things that need to be completed by the end of the year? And so I would be looking at what are the outcomes, right? What is that you want to accomplish in the next 2 months? And then what are the disciplines required to do that? So, if your outcome is I'm going to start calling all my clients during a transaction like we heard Scott talk about, then, your discipline is that, I'm going to make, these 4 calls every transaction. If you're going to start a program like what Bliss talked about and go after, a dozen new agents or 10 or whatever that number is, you've got to spend some time. That's a project, right? So you're going to have to label that as a project. You're going to have to spend a jam session working on, okay, what are the 5 things I'm going to put in my tool bag? Or, maybe you've got a similar creative idea, and then you're going to have to spend some time between now and then working on that list to get it rolling. And maybe for you, this will be a project that you'll launch in December for that month, or maybe it'll be something that you do January 1. But I really think it's critical now that in your jam session, one jam session this next week, that you sit down and you just do that idea of list of ideas, or what are the projects I need to accomplish? What is super important for me to do between now and the end of the year to hit the ground running? Because there's no doubt you could pick up the phone and get a couple more deals in December. But really, your 2016 business is almost done, right? Everything that you've done all year is what's going to create the closings that you have in November and December. For the most part, there'll be a few more deals that'll fall in your lap, but it's the critical activities that you do today, that you do this month, that are really what's going to lay the foundation and be your runway in January. And it's just such a great time to plan. So if anyone has any other ideas, put them on the Facebook group. If you have any questions, reach out. You can PM me through Facebook. That's always a great way to reach me. Really appreciate you guys all being here. Apologize again for the technical difficulties and starting late. And look forward to an on-time start next week, and really appreciate you all being here and all of you who are participating. Thanks so much.